When using a connected insulin pen with diasend, it's easy to see if a patient is likely doing priming doses, also known as air shots, before larger therapy doses. First, if you navigate to the comparison section within a patient's profile and look at the logbook and table, you'll see here in the graph below that we have injection information presented alongside other useful data. You'll see that the insulin data here, we have therapy doses such as this one, 9 units of insulin, that are preceded by much smaller doses, here 2 units of insulin. In this case, it's possible that the 2-unit dose is a priming dose, again also known as an air shot. You'll see that this pattern is repeated in other areas. Again, a larger therapy dose, 15 units, is preceded by a possible 2-unit priming dose. By scrolling down the table, we can also see therapy doses, 13.5 units, that are not preceded by a smaller and possible priming dose. We can see graphical representations of this by going to the Day by Day tab. Here, you'll see that insulin is represented here, and injections are represented by the blue columns. You'll see that due to the small amount of time between a priming dose and a therapy dose, that any columns would line up perfectly. So to identify possible priming doses, we're looking for these numbers seen here that would sit above that smaller column, which would represent a possible priming dose. We can find more information about this by looking at the table on the right hand side, where we see the exact time that injections is being given as well as the units that were injected. We can see here that the 2-unit dose that is possibly a priming dose was done in the same minute as the larger 10-unit therapy dose. By looking at other reports within diasend, going over to, for instance, the week report found within the insulin section, we can see that each week is represented by a graph and each day within the week is its own column. Now, these columns show the total units of insulin taken on that day. Now, this total would include any potential priming doses, and therefore it would be very difficult to identify if priming doses are taking place using this report. Similarly, we go over to the dose overview. Here we have a bird's eye view of multiple doses across many days. But because of the short amount of time between a possible priming dose and a therapy dose, those columns would line up perfectly, and you would therefore not be able to identify a priming dose within this report. For that reason, we recommend using the comparison tab, specifically the logbook and table, for identifying if a patient is likely doing priming doses before larger therapy doses.